Chloe and I are in our element. We're collecting stunning pictures and video for our audiences. And our aim is simple, to get riders off their backsides and onto their bikes and into this fantastic country. This time we're testing the Aprilia Touareg, riding 2,000 kilometres from Brisbane to Sydney, keeping to the dirt roads and tracks when we can and doing our best to keep off the freeway. The Touareg has created quite a stir since it hit Australian shores a couple of months ago. It has consistently attracted positive reviews, but at the end of the day, there's not too many reviewers that have taken the bike on a fair dinkum 2,000 kilometre adventure. This test is in two parts. The first is my initial impressions of a feature of the bike or the bike in general as I ride and experience it firsthand on a range of road and track conditions. The second half of the test is more structured and focuses more specifically on key features of the bike. We're about an hour and a bit out of Brisbane now, and the weather has just been unpleasant. It's not even good for ducks. I mean, there's a lot of rain, but there's also these really blustery, windy conditions. But you know, regardless of that, there's still a lot to like about this bike. And in many ways, doing adversity, you get to understand the bike better. Mate, pissing down rain, 100km/h crosswinds yesterday. What's greeting us today? Let's go and have a look.
Well, it couldn't get much worse though, could it?
Oh God, that tent was a bit hard to take.
Oh, the tent. And did you see Nugget's bare cheeks
Yeah.
across there at the pooling room?
Yeah, just hanging out of a tree, yeah.
Hey, it's not raining.
We're on Aprilia's. Let's have a look at the weather. That's the first thing on my mind. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, but you're looking the wrong way. That's
Yeah,
where
I
we
know.
came from.
I know.
Where are we going? Oh,
Where are we
it looks
going?
worse where we're going.
It looks not as... That's not good either. That's the way we're heading. South.
That's fog and mist. It's just
It's
hangs there
fog,
on
mist.
the ranges. You're up high here. You're up high.
So day 2 on the Aprilia's. Yeah, so we're set up pretty easily.
Well, the only thing is that rear end, you've got nowhere to easily tether rearward, you know? Like we've just picked up that little tiny pillion grab handle there. We can just get the rock strap soft loops in there but you'd love the bag to be a little further back. But we should have gone the smaller tank bag, isn't it? The Diablo, you know.
Yeah, Diablo would have been better.
That high.
Yeah, so we're in Tenterfield. We've ridden out of Brisbane. We've headed south, straight to Tenterfield, and then we'll be into the beautiful dirt riding that's around Tenterfield very shortly. So in the wind yesterday, when it was blowing head on, and I was sitting at 100 k's an hour, sometimes the fuel economy got up to 8 litres per 100 k's, which is ridiculous, but I mean that's how strong the wind was. But yeah, it's averaging at the moment. Let's have a look here. Average fuel 5.4. I don't think that's reflective of what it really does, because we were into this wind all day. I think it'd be closer to 5. Anyway, we'll see. One thing I'm missing, and I don't know if it's me or the bike, and that is when you flick And I love the TFT screen. It's very simple and works well. But I get odometer, I flip through, I get trip, I get time, I get maximum speed, I get average speed, average fuel. Fuel, as in average fuel usage, which are currently at 4.8. And I don't get fuel range, which, if you're giving me all those other things, unless I'm missing something on the screen, I'm going to ask Aprilia about that. But if you give me all that stuff, why wouldn't you give me fuel range? We're a couple of kilometres out of Tenterfield, and Clubby's got us on this lovely flowing tarred road, and it's an opportunity just to feel the handling of the bike. It's got a very light feel. The steering is light. You know, we're coming into this corner. Yeah, it just tips in. I didn't even feel like braking then. I felt so confident. We're into around the 1.8. Okay. Yeah, so pulls away. So gear changing at 8. Yeah, it clips along. It's a very linear power delivery. So Clubby's going to give us a diet of dirt today, and he's delivering as usual. So we're on it. So I'm just going to go. Oh, I went through it. It's so quick. Okay, I'm on off-road. I'm in it. Standing position is good. I think the Fandango Pro Bag is too big on this bike. I think I'd be going for a Diablo. It's just pushing my bum back a bit too much. I tell you what I'm missing straight away, and I've been a bit spoiled. On the 701 I've got a quick shifter, and yeah, I'm missing that a bit straight away. The riding conditions are beautiful. I don't know. The rear foot brake, if I have a tool in my kit, I'll be flipping that over because it's completely adjustable. Here's Clubby. Hey mate. Rockvale. I can understand why it's called Rockvale. Yep, this is Rockvale. First impressions of the bike. Well, it's funny, it's day 2, not day 1. Day 1 was pissing down rain and 100km/h winds. The winds were so bad, there's one stage there I was looking at the instant fuel economy and it went up to 8 litres per 100 kilometres. Like the wind was howling that much, I'm hanging on like that. So no filming, but it still was a good opportunity to get a feel for the bike. The first thing that struck me is the seating position and comfort. I'm sitting in the seat and the distance between the foot pegs and the seat, it's pretty short, and I felt, oh God, I think that's a little bit too short for me. But then again, when you get in areas like this and you've got to fiddle around with the bike slowly, you can plant both feet flat on the ground, and that's a great thing. And you know, I can think of guys on bigger bikes just looking enviously at the Aprilia riders as they can dabble around and move around really easily. The other thing with the seated position is it keeps you upright. The handlebar from shoulders is spot on, and it's a very comfortable position. The steering was really light and agile in the suburban traffic, and the engine just carried you through suburban traffic, so that was another great feature of the bike. The centre of gravity on this bike is incredibly low, and there's a couple of reasons for that, and I'm going to turn to some file footage in a second. The first is, up the top here, that's just all air, and what I mean by that is that's the air boxes up here, and the actual fuel tank comes down and extends down into here, and the bike just feels so light and agile, and combine that with this ultralight low seat height and it's just bloody brilliant. I haven't given the fairing a good run yet. In all fairness, you know, there was a lot of buffeting going on yesterday, but the winds, honestly, they blow a dog off a chain. You know, they're hitting you sideways at about 80 k's and pushing you over, so jury's out on that. Apart from that, yeah, the engine is so sweet, it just carries you along. I'm really impressed with the first, you know, couple of 100 k's on the bike, but today's the big day for me, the dirt, and really looking forward to getting it out and testing out that suspension, and also testing out the different types of traction control that this bike offers. So there you go, you're always asking me for GPX routes. I'm never going to give you that, but I'll give you occasionally I'll give you a hint. Gunyah Road, G-U-N-Y-A-H. Easy to get on, low seat height. See that? Bang, both feet on the ground. So if you went to stuff this rock ledge up, you can put your foot down. Save yourself careering into the ground. Boom. Starting to get an appreciation of the suspension. I haven't really given it too much, but what I'm discovering is good. I love the way the bike handles in these flowing dirt roads. It's good.
Finally on some twin track, and the ground is moist and the grass edges are slippery. Time to get to appreciate the fundamentals of the handling of this bike. The suspension is soaking up this track effortlessly. It's not the most gnarly track, but it gives me an appreciation of the trail feel, and I'm impressed. The steering of the bike is agile and the engine is responding well to my input. The Brembo brake's precision and predictability, particularly activation of the rear brake, is a real highlight for me. This bike reeks of quality components that have been thoughtfully combined. I take it for some slow tootling as Clubby collects images for the magazine. Clutch take-up, gearing and low-speed engine usability combined with that low centre of gravity make for pleasurable slow riding. And if you stuff it up, it's reassuring you can get your feet firmly planted on Mother Earth before you take a topple. We could have stayed in this granite country all day. It's a magical place that epitomises the rugged yet understated beauty of Australia. But time is marching on and we need to keep heading south, and to do that we need to hook into flowing dirt roads.
Now, Clubby, is this the bull?
I don't trust him, mate. Fuck, he's got me spooked after Troy. He's just stood there and looked at me. I had the horn fucking go and everything. He's protecting his girl. Go on, big fella. Off you go.
Oh,
I
God.
don't trust him. He's just giving me death stares.
Can this end up in Funniest Home Videos? He's got two girls there.
One girl's saying, come on, let's go. It's very difficult to get around there quickly. There we go. No, he's not. No, he's turning around. He's going to... One of our mates, Troy, got heavily smashed up with a bull that everyone said was tame, and he had a bad shoulder injury out of it. So we're always a bit sceptical of bulls on the track. Oh, look at that! It's beautiful. Heading towards Dalmorton. 10,000 people lived here. It's hard to believe. And they were here for one thing. And that happened all around the world in the 1880s and earlier. And that's gold. Beautiful. We've been riding beside this river for ages. It's just stunning. Well, we're about, I don't know, an hour out of Armidale, I suppose, and we've been riding a great range of trails, from really flowy stuff and fast stuff to really rocky and slippery stuff, and then the occasional bits of tar. So we've just about done everything, and I'm firming up on my conclusion. This is like the Swiss Army knife of bikes in that dual sport twin area. And you know, normally I say with these bikes, with the complexity now, the traction control and all that sort of stuff on it, you know, the ABS, that you really can't get an appreciation of them just with a 15-minute, you know, ride around the block, because those things are so good. Well, I'm going to throw that theory out the window, and what I want you to do, if you're interested in this bike, an Aprilia Touareg, is you go into the shop and ask the shop attendant if you can actually sit on it and then move about, because I just want to show you this. You just sit on this bike, the low seat height, my feet are flat on the ground, and I feel as one with this bike. Yeah, I've ridden much bigger capacity bikes lately, but this is the do everything bike, and I think I've pinched a clubby term there. I don't know if I got it quite right, but it's the do everything bike, and it just cruises along so well. The engine is very capable. It's a very smooth linear power delivery. You get to about 6 and it comes on, but do you need that? I don't know. I've been having a ball just loping along. The suspension, I've had a couple of times there where I've tested it out, haven't gone near bottoming it. There's a whole heap of adjustment that can be made. We've been in the saddle now, I don't know, 6 hours, 7 hours, and the seat's comfortable, the seated position's comfortable, all that's good. And it gets me thinking, you know, what is this bike going to do to the market? And I can see the bikes, the big mid-sized twin guys, you know, the 800s, the 900s, looking down on this bike, looking down and going, oh, I think I might have to give that a run. And then I can see the single cylinder, what do we call them, adventure explorers these days, those guys looking up and saying, God, that's not a bad sized twin, you know, 660. Yeah, it's so my view on this bike is it's going to suck customers out of both parts of the market and bring them together. And I think it's an exciting time for adventure bike riding. I keep saying it and I'll say it again, it's raining good adventure bikes. And someone on YouTube the other day said, oh, you're always so positive about bikes, you know, you never say, you know, anything bad about them. Well, actually, if you listen carefully, I do, if there's a couple of things that aren't quite right. But they are a really good bunch, and at the moment, you know, this is up there with the best that I've ridden at the moment. It truly is a can-do bike for all occasions.
We've just come off the freeway and I'm just giving Clubby a bit of a head start so I don't eat his dust. But I just wanted to quickly show you in real life how quickly it is to turn to off-road from traction control. So it's been on urban, which is road, and you've got to watch this because it's going to happen so quickly. So here I go, off-road, and it's in. And that's it. And now rear ABS is off, traction control is limited, and in my case I've preset it to off. So there you go, and we're away. Where's this magnificent twin trail going, Clubby?
I'm hoping it goes all the way to bloody Pitt Street, Sydney.
Oh, good.
Perfect, wouldn't it?
It's wonderful.
I think we need to go and have a little mooch a bit further anyway.
Yeah. No, it looks great. Yeah, these are the little discoveries you make along the way. I love this sort of riding. Not quite sure where you're going to end up. Certainly getting our boots polished.
As I ride my last couple of 100 kilometres on the Touareg, I'm reflecting on the capacity of this bike, ridden straight off the showroom floor to take me on a fuss-free, comfortable adventure. And it's succeeded. But does that mean it's adventure ready straight off the showroom floor? It's close, but no. But equally as importantly, the fundamentals are great. Time to look at this bike in a little more detail. When manufacturers begin the process of designing and building a bike, there is a tension between engineers, designers and bean counters. There are way too many recent examples where it is obvious bean counters have had the final say and quality of components or a design oriented towards adventure have suffered. Not so for the Touareg. This bike reeks of quality components and designed from the bottom up, focused on creating an adventure motorcycle, and Aprilia have succeeded. I try to avoid spec sheet peeking in my reviews in preference to seat of the pants assessment, but in this case I'll make some exceptions. Fully adjustable KYB suspension with a class leading 240mm of travel. Magnificent Brembo brakes, 2-finger stopping on the front and rear brake feel that is the best out there. An excellent intuitive traction control and engine management system, capped off with one of the most effective TFT displays out there that makes access easy for riders to quickly find what they're looking for. Yes, a really clever feature of this bike is this is the cruise control, which in itself is so simple to activate and to control, but it also has a second purpose, and that's to control your traction control. So you can just move that through the 4 settings of traction control on the fly in any of the modes, and that's a brilliant thing, and that's what I've been asking for in a number of models. Aprilia have done it, it's fantastic. So there's your switch blocks, and from there you can gain access to all your traction control and ABS settings and engine management settings, and it's just so good and so intuitive in terms of how it works. And the link to that, to the actual screen, the language, the Aprilia language is excellent for a rider. Even when you're tired, you don't have to fiddle around too much. A real highlight of this bike is the 1-button access to all the riding modes. It's just a simple matter of on the fly just going through them. And it takes literally a second to move from your urban setting through to your off-road setting where ABS is disabled. It's fantastic, an on-the-fly system that works
really well. From the riding mode, 4 selections are available to the rider. In Urban and Explore, engine map, engine braking, ABS modulation are set and cannot be altered. They're those red numbers. Traction control, which is in green, can be altered on the fly in all modes. The individual and off-road modes allow for complete customization of all settings by the rider. Explore mode is the gateway for those less experienced in the dirt and a great way to start on dirt roads. It will look after you. It also provides an opportunity to focus on experiencing different traction control settings whilst keeping all the other parameters constant. Once those settings are selected by the rider, they are locked in unless they decide to change them. Fuel economy for our adventure came in at 21 kilometres per litre, so from our 18 litre tank we could expect a fuel range of around 370 kilometres. If you were gentle on the juice, I reckon you could almost stretch that out to 400 k's, but it would be the most boring trip you could imagine. In still air, the windshield provided a stable environment for my helmet at all speeds. Clubby felt there was a slight buffeting around 100 kilometres per hour. A larger touring screen is available for this bike, and that may have pleased Clubby. Although linear in its power delivery, the engine does have a little sting in the tail and can get hauling if you change gears at around 8,000 revs. Power delivery was ideal for a range of environments, from the real slow stuff to cruising along at 110 km per hour, even if the engine was sitting at a pretty high 5,000 revs. What I did miss was a quick shifter, particularly when approaching dirt corners standing up, where I like to be able to snick down a gear without pulling in the clutch. It sounds a bit highbrow, but I've adapted to this quick shifted way of life in the dirt. But fortunately, a quick shifter is available as an option for this bike. My head is now focused on what it will take to make the Touareg a resilient adventure bike. The fundamentals are there: low seat height, great fuel range, comfortable ergos, good ground clearance, and an easily accessible air filter box. It takes just a couple of minutes to replace the air filter element. And further good news for Australian riders, Unifilter Australia are now making an oil-foamed air filter that will keep Aussie desert dust at bay and will be available worldwide soon. The challenge for all adventure bikes where the engine is suspended from the frame is mounting a decent bash plate. In this case, necessary to protect the exhaust. If I was buying this bike, I'd be heading to the aftermarket accessory store to find a good bash plate. Engine guards are also a must, as the radiators are vulnerable to damage even if the bike just falls over. But armed with a sturdier bash plate and engine guards, I'd only need a set of aluminium handguards and a tail rack, and this bike would be ready and resilient for a decent adventure. For its first mid-sized twin adventure bike, Aprilia's Touareg goes straight to the top of the pack in terms of capability, quality, handling and usability. The natural assumption is this bike's key competitor is the Yamaha T700, but it's much broader than that. This bike is so usable, capable and adventure friendly, it's likely to shake up the entire mid-sized adventure market. The only impediment, well, in Australia at least, is there are currently only 15 service centres throughout the country. This bike is an absolute cracker, a leader in the pack, and if you're in the market for a new bike, you'd want to go out for a test ride on this little beauty. A big thanks to Andrew Clubb, editor of Australian Adventure Bike magazine, for giving me a hand to complete this test.
Gotta watch this the causeway isn't washed out. Oh Jesus, that's a fine line. It's about 4 inches each side. Oh, fuck! Jesus wept. See, the ABS works good. Oh, God, that gave me a heart attack.
So Dave, what was the worst feature of the bike, I hear you ask? Well, after my previous review of the Ducati Desert X, I've come to the conclusion that Italian manufacturers have a big problem with rear axle nuts. In this case, the rear 25mm axle nut is way too shallow, and you've got to be very careful not to burr it. Come on Aprilia, put a decent sized nut on that rear axle, because it's going to drive your riders nuts.